Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are listening to Andrea in the Morning, and I'm your host, Andrea Raquel, the social entrepreneur and sugar-free coach. If you're listening from anywhere on the East Coast, United States, I guess it's morning time for you if you're listening live. If you're listening from somewhere on the West Coast, I guess you're probably not up yet, so you might be catching the archived show. If you're listening from abroad, thank you so much for catching up with me on my time schedule. This is going to be an archive show, so you can listen any day. I'm trying to share content with you that is certainly useful and helpful, but that's not necessarily required to be on a certain day or a certain time. Today is Thursday, Throwback Thursday, and I was inspired to share a little throwback information with you because it's a big day around the net. People are sharing old pictures, baby pictures, historic information, and you remember when, if you were born during the 60s, 70s, 80s, so on and so forth. There's some really interesting and funny memes going around. So enjoy that and make one up of your own if you've got something funny to share. Don't wait for someone else to share it. I just think it's really ironic and strange that we can make a joke about something without catching the irony. We see the irony where it's funny, but we don't necessarily take that irony and apply it to our lives. So what I want to talk to you today about is technology, because when we talk about throwback, the way things used to be, of course, the most obvious thing is technology. Who knows what this sound is? Probably haven't heard it in a long time. Well, even if you know what that one is, bet you definitely don't know what this one is. You might, if you're at least my age or older, you might know what that is. Okay, what about, or should I say, I know you guys all know this one, but when's the last time you heard it? All three of those are sounds that we really don't ever hear in 2014. The first one being the fax machine. How many times have you ever tried to dial a number and the person forgot to disconnect their fax? Because back in the day, you had to run your fax line through the same line that you ran your phone through, unless you had, really expensive high-tech lines. So oftentimes people were getting their faxes on the same line they were getting their phone calls, and if you forgot to disconnect or didn't switch it over, all your phone calls coming in would be getting that fax dial tone. It was so annoying, especially if you were really, really trying to get in touch with someone. The second one, maybe not as familiar, Morse code. You know Morse code? Have you ever heard of Morse code? If you haven't heard of it, I just strongly suggest you Google it. You probably should know Morse code because, in an emergency situation, zombie apocalypse, I don't know, you're definitely going to need to know Morse code again. I had to learn it in flight school, so Morse code's not going away. It's just not something that we hear. And of course, the final one was the wonderful busy signal, which you never hear these days because everyone has call waiting. So, throwback to when we had fax machine dial tones and busy signals on the phone. That was a time when you really, really had to maximize your day. You couldn't afford to waste time. You didn't just run out the door. You had to make sure you made all your phone calls before you, left the phone. You had to make sure that, you had paper in the fax machine. You couldn't just email something. You actually had to complete the document and sign it and fax it off. And, if you were going to a meeting or a job interview or something like that required the documents when you got there, you had to take care of all that paperwork. There was no sitting in traffic and sending an email. Well, of course, you can't do that anymore because now you can't text and drive. I know lots of y'all still do it anyway, but hopefully you're at least doing it at the traffic light and not while you're speeding down the highway. But my point is that today in 2014, you don't you don't have as many things that you have to take care of individually. You don't have to compartmentalize your life the way that you used to. You maybe used to deal with work, and then you would deal with personal, and then maybe you'd do some community stuff on the weekend. Or maybe you'd, do work, and then you'd do your workout, and you'd have fun. Life is not that way anymore, or at least it doesn't have to be. It didn't have to be then, okay? If you were a pro at maximizing the moment, live, work, play, making sure that you play at everything you do before, then maybe this doesn't pertain to you. But a lot of people have a hard time finding time to go to the gym, making time for their loved ones, taking time out to have a hobby. Even major goals and visions for the future that people have, they have a hard time wrapping their mind around, well, okay, I'm doing this right now. I won't worry about that until I'm done with this thing. I hope all of you listening who have been following me for any amount of time know that I am a firm believer that you don't wait. There's something that you know you're going to want down the road, you start preparing for it now. Because who's to say you may get it early? Or who's to say that someone else doesn't come along with the pieces that are needed to help complete that goal that you're trying to accomplish? But just simplifying it down, let's talk about live, work, play, the things that you do every day, basic living. You eat, you have personal hygiene, you interact with other humans, you have relationships, you work, you maybe run a business, you may have a home office, you may go into a job or contract or company, you may have to sit in traffic, whatever your situation is. You play. Maybe you have a sport that you play, or maybe there's a hobby or something that you do on the weekend for fun, maybe just dancing or going and hanging out with friends. But you have live, work, play activities. And of course, you know that with living sugar-free, Better Me Inc. TXNL, we're improving communities, businesses, and lifestyles one solution at a time. So whether you are dealing with community, business, or lifestyle, and it doesn't matter if you have a job or if you own your own business. It doesn't matter if you're single or married. You should live, work, play in everything that you do. If you follow me, you notice I say love, live, love, work, love, play, love. Why? Because if you insert love into everything that you do, you're happy. You're loving you, you're loving others, you're loving what you do. Live, work, play is a catchphrase that usually describes an area where you can shop, maybe you work in that area, and maybe you can have a condo in that area. Well, I'm using it to describe how you function in life. You should not have to go out of your way, just as though they're designing these developments for people to live in your life. Certainly, if it's smart to create a subdivision or a development area where people don't have to go out of their way to live, work, play, certainly it makes sense in your life that you shouldn't have to go out of your way to live, work, play. And how can you do this? How can you apply this in wherever it is, wherever you live, whatever it is that you're doing? Well, it's simple. You just have to think ahead a little bit. You just have to do a little bit of planning and a little bit of prioritizing. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? Well, that should be with everything we do. It doesn't mean that you have to walk around with a notebook every 5 minutes. It doesn't mean you have to spend hours strategizing your life. On Mondays, on Sundays, whatever your planning day is, and if you don't have one, you need to implement one. But whatever your planning day is, I'm just suggesting that you expand your planning day. Don't just talk about the tasks. Don't just make a budget. Don't just talk about the things you have to do for the week. Go ahead and add in the things that are important to you. Spending time with your children, working out, practicing an instrument, learning a foreign language, date night, if you will. But also include your meals and also include things like whatever you may love. If you get your nails done, or if you like to take a stroll on the water, or whatever your thing is, add that in as part of your schedule. Don't just schedule things that you're obligated to do for other people. Schedule things that are important to you. Okay? So don't just throughout this day, don't just do your throwbacks and post, pictures from when you were a child and talk about, oh, when we were in the 70s, we had to walk 5 miles uphill in the snow. Don't just do that. Laugh, have your fun, post your memes, but then just take a second and think about how many more things you're able to accomplish in this modern day time. Compare that throwback to now, what you're able to do. Okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to live, work, play at everything you do. That means you don't have to make a lot of time to eat healthy or go out of your way to go to the gym. That means if you're working 60, 70 hours a week, on your breaks, stretch, take a walk. You don't have to wait until you can make it to the gym to work out. You can take the stairs instead of the elevator. You can walk from the parking lot instead of parking close. You can do your stretching every single morning and every single night before you go to bed. You can do knee raises, and you can do squats, and they're different. You don't have to do major exercises and put on your workout clothes to stay active. You also don't have to go out of your way to eat healthy. There are little tricks and things that you can do if you plan well. When you plan out your grocery list, make sure that you plan for the fact that you're always running around at work and never have time to eat. So that you can plan to keep snacks in your drawer or in your bag, so that you can always have something healthy to pop in your mouth and you never get to the point of starving. If you're a salesperson, you don't have to make a big production about going out on sales calls. You've got to go out shopping this weekend. You've got to, take some people out, or you've got family in town for the weekend, or whatever the thing is you're doing. Take a stack of business cards and put them in your pocket. Put on your best dress. Put on your best smile. And as you're getting to know people, you will attract the right people to you. And as you're getting to know each other, when they ask you, what do you do for a living? That's your opportunity to share with them how you can potentially make their life easier. Relationships. Having a hard time spending time with your loved one? Are you maybe in a new relationship and you're having a hard time connecting with each other? Kill two birds with one stone. You've got some research that you've got to do. Make it fun. Make it a date night. You can learn and have fun at the same time. My point is that you can multitask now in a way that's not necessarily a distraction. Yes, some multitasking is bad. You don't want to be on the computer, focused on the computer, and then someone's sitting next to you and you're having a conversation with them, and that's called multitasking. No, that is not multitasking. That is being rude. But certainly you can decide that, oh, hey, I want to get some exercise in and I didn't make it to the gym this week, so this week for date night, can we go hiking? Or can we go to the park or to the beach and walk? You don't have to go sit at the movie theater if you missed your time at the gym this week. Or you don't go to the gym. How about every single week your date night needs to be something active? And guess what? You can do all of this without leaving people hearing this. Because who doesn't have a cell phone? You can take pictures, you can stay connected on social media, you can track your activities, you can track how much you walk, you can play fun games on your date. My point is, use this technology. Utilize the technology to expand your vision, to maximize the moments. Don't be